Hello. This problem is the Module 1 stretch problem, and it's called Add Up Some Numbers, and the goal time is 15 minutes. So the concept behind the stretch problems is that once you have executed the problems from the textbook, this one is to help make you think a little bit harder and work a little bit harder on the problems, so that you can learn how to program a little bit more complex solutions. So anyway, so with these, let's see here. Well, with these, as opposed to the ones in the textbook, you'll have an actual explanation of the problem here. So this says write a program that asks the user for 3 numbers and displays the total of the 3 numbers, for example, like this. And again, now, because this is a stretch problem, you may not, you do have enough information because of the videos that I posted in this module, as well as a little bit of stuff from the textbook. But perhaps this is a little bit beyond what you're able to do, so try it out, and try it first. Be sure to try it, and then if you really can't get anywhere with it, go ahead and watch the solution, which is what you're doing right now, and then go back and wait at least 3 hours until after you have watched this video, because you don't want to just do it just from short-term memory, just type it in. You want to be able to listen and understand the problem, and then be able to go back and actually do the problem. All right, that's the goal for you. So let's go ahead and work on this problem. So, and the part of the notion of these videos is to give you a sense of the flow of solving these problems. Not just here, type this in, but this is the flow to solving this problem. And if I wait long enough, I have to really, I have to remember what it was I was trying to get you to do, etc., with these problems. Admittedly, not so much on these earlier ones, but on some of the later ones, I actually have to stop and think, oh, what's wrong with that? Or I'll have to fix this, or whatever. So I try to give you a sense of actually programming when you're watching these videos, because you're not expected to type the program from the top to the bottom all in one fell swoop and have it work right the first time. That's just never going to happen. So don't expect it to happen, and let's let's get started with solving this problem. And the way you should always start it is start it with the stuff we know you have to do. Alright, so here's a baseline program, and we'll just run it and we'll see what happens here. Alright, so test 1 failed because it says please enter X, please enter Y, please enter Z, and the total is 9. So at a minimum, we're going to have to do something like that. So what we can do here is say cout, please enter X. Now, we learned in the previous video, the earlier video, that you don't just, if it says please enter something, it's because you're supposed to read it from the input. It's not just supposed to be you're supposed to type put the number 2 there for each, or in 3 and 4 for the other 2. So and we also learned that you read things in from input using the cin operator. Some people say sin. I don't. I say cin and cout. I think some people say count and sin, but I just say cin and cout. Okay, so here is a notion for the first one here. Now, if you remember right, you read that in, and then you can write it back out to the screen. And so that would be how, here you're prompting. That's called a prompt. And then here you're reading the value in, and then you're displaying it on the screen. So we're going to go ahead and run that, and I know it won't work. right? Here we go. Error, X was not declared in the scope of this usage. I said it out loud that I knew it wasn't going to work, just so you think it didn't catch me off guard. But some things will, but that one didn't. All right, was not declared in this scope. Well, that's because if you're going to use a variable, and this is called a variable, then you're going to have to declare the variable. So, and everything in this example is integers. So we are going to call X an int, or an integer. So now let's try running it. Okay, so there aren't any these red error messages, right? In other words, there's no syntax errors. But the test failed because if we look at the output, it just says please enter X, colon, and then there's a 2, and that's good. But what about Y and Z here? That's not happening. So now the next thing I'm about to show you, you have to do judiciously. You can't just do it willy-nilly, right? But you have a concept that's working. Let's reuse it. So we'll make this X into a Y. Right? Now you have to remember to replace all of them or it's not going to work. There's a Z, 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 Z. Okay, so let's just try that. Okay, so now we have on our output, please enter X2, enter Y3, Z4, and that's all working. What's not working is the total is 9. So we can go back over here, and all we have to do is put the total is 9, right? Okay, so let's run it. Okay, look at that. Test 1 passed. Woohoo, we're all done, right? No, we're not all done, because if we go back over here, we will find out that that's fine. 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 9, but 6 plus 33 plus 48 is not 9. So we're going to have to actually calculate the answer. So, so it's supposed to be 87. So let's go back over here. Now, everything up to here is fine. All right, but we don't have the total yet. So let's call something total. And let's say total equals X plus Y plus Z, semicolon. Without the semicolon, you're going to get an error message. And then over here, we're going to say total, and then the endl. So let's see if it works. Look at that, all 3 of them passed. Because you solved the problem in a abstract or generic way that works for any values X, Y, and Z that are integers, then it will work for all of the tests. So that's the goal state when you're programming, is that you set up your program so that it works for any set of inputs that are valid. And we'll talk as the semester goes on about invalid inputs and things like that. But for right now, this all is working because, in fact, actually, if we go over here, I think it'll refresh and show us a third output. 0, 0, and 1, and total is 1, right? So it works for all of the input sets, right? And you have to be careful, though. You do not, once you learn how to do if statements, you don't want to say if the values are this, print this, or if the values are that, print that. If you do, that's what's called hard coding, and it's not a valid way of writing your programs. So anything that's found where you're doing that will be rejected, and you definitely don't want to be doing that. But we'll get more into that as the semester goes on. So for right now, everything is working, and so you would hit the submit button here and wait for that to submit, and then you would check the report to make sure nothing happened on the submit that you didn't want to have happen. Let's see. New report is ready. tests 1, 2, and 3 passed. You're all good to go.